Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Just about half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos, and we got lots and lots to get to. We are creeping towards a huge football weekend. Of course, by now, pretty well aware that LSU's got Alabama on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, and the Saints come home to play a Bears team that is not very good, and the Saints need to get a win and see if they can't take control of the NFC South. So we'll talk about all of it over the next 2 hours. JD Picell from On3 Sports, host of The Hard Count, going to be with us in 15 minutes as he always is. It's a What If Wednesday. Got plenty of those rolling in on Twitter, so appreciate y'all's interaction there. I've got some thoughts on the college football playoff announcement last night. Brian Kelly has met with the media a couple times this week now. Of course, SEC football power rankings coming at you at 2:30. So lots and lots to get to here on this Wednesday. Let's start diving in to LSU and Alabama. That's the game that you all want to hear about at this point. And when we looked at this Alabama team entering the season, we were at media days in camp doing some preseason prognostication on what Alabama was going to look like. I think we all looked at their roster and said, okay, this is a team that's probably going to start Jalen Miller at quarterback, who's not the passer that Bryce Young and Mac Jones and Tua have been. He's an elite athlete. Would stand to reason he would be a pretty big factor in their run game. And you looked at their offensive line and you went, whoa, this is a pretty big unit here. They're going to be a heavy run football team that may have to find its way through the air. And you thought that no matter what identity this Alabama offense took, that the offensive line would be the backbone of it. And the offensive line has had its issues, quite frankly. Now you look at what they've got up front, and it made sense that we thought this would be a great unit that imposed its will on people. Caden Proctor is going to start at left tackle on Saturday night. 6'7", 360-pound true freshman from the state of Iowa. He was a five-star, top five player nationally last year. Big try for Kirk Ferentz and the crew in Iowa City, but they couldn't keep him out of Tuscaloosa. But he struggled. There's just really no two ways about it. He's allowed 5 sacks in his last 3 games. Some of the issues have been physical for him. Some of the issues have been mental. If you watch the Tennessee game, for example, he gave up a pair of sacks in that game. One, he just got bull rushed right into Jalen Milroe's lap. I mean, just knocked right into Jalen Milroe's lap. One time, Tennessee really telegraphs a rusher off of his side, the offensive left side. The guy comes free, and Proctor blocked down and then realized that he wasn't supposed to be there and immediately turned his head, and the Tennessee guy was right by him for an easy sack. That's not a physical mishap. That's just not knowing where to be, and you would expect that at times from a true freshman. LSU played 2 true freshman tackles last year. You have your lumps, and Caden Proctor has taken his to this point. And last week, Alabama lined a tight end next to him, not like in the slot, like next to his left side, on 33 of their 64 snaps. So better than half of their snaps, they're giving him a little bit of help. Tyler Booker is the left guard. He's 6'5", 352 pounds. He was a top 10 player in the country, played 12 games last year, started at right guard. Now he's their starting left guard. But you look at those two guys. That is 712 pounds of man on the offensive left side. 712 pounds. On the offensive left side. Seth McLaughlin is a senior center, started 3 games in 2021, 8 in 2022, 8 this year. He's a real veteran at 6'4", 300 pounds. Darian Delcourt is their right guard, 6'3", 200. He played in 7 football games in 2019. He's been around just a little bit. And then you look out at right tackle, and that's where J.C. Latham plays. 6'6", 360. He's a junior. He was the number 2 player in the nation coming out of high school and has played for 3 years now in Tuscaloosa. But you look at 3 of these guys. Proctor at 6'7", 360. Booker at 6'5", 352. And Latham at 6'6", 300. All 3 of those guys are bigger than Lance Hurd. And for those of you that have been to games in Tiger Stadium this year or seen LSU play in person, even if you're watching on TV, you know how massive Lance Hurd is. These 3 guys are bigger than him. This is a huge, huge offensive line group. But as I mentioned, they've had some issues. They've allowed the most sacks in the SEC, 35 of them. They've allowed 55 tackles for loss. That is 4th most in the SEC. If you look at them trying to run the football, it's been okay. Against Texas, 35 carries for $107. That's 3 yards a pop. That's not exactly lighting it up. Ole Miss, 45 carries for 131 yards. That's under 3 yards a carry, 2.9. At A&M, they just couldn't flat run the ball at all. Stop trying. 26 carries for 23 yards. They just couldn't run it at all. Now, Milroe was great. He threw for 300 plus. They won the game, but they couldn't run it. Against Arkansas, not exactly, the 85 Bears here, 42 carries for 177. That's 4.2 yards per carry. But you don't see any of these 330-yard efforts, 287-yard efforts that we've come accustomed to with some of the Alabama rushing attacks that we've seen. And they're having a little bit of trouble protecting the passer. So that entire synopsis of young left tackle and issues, having given up sacks. I mean, you look at the Tennessee game when they played the Vols. They gave up 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Against Arkansas, 5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Against A&M, 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. South Florida got back there for 5 sacks. South Florida also had 5 QB hurries in that game. Teams are getting back into the backfield. The question is, can LSU do it? If this is a traditional LSU team, you would say, well, they shouldn't have much issue. Probably got a couple of top 2-round picks on your defensive front. Probably one of the 5 or 6 best run defenses in the SEC. That's not the case with this LSU team. They're 13th in the SEC in sacks, and they've just got 14 of those. They're 12th in the SEC in tackles for loss. So near the bottom of the barrel for LSU in both of those categories. We're talking about all the issues that LSU's got in the back end of the defense with injuries and whatnot. But the question is, can you win up front? Now, I would have told you entering the season, if you said, okay, LSU's going to have one of the worst defenses in the league, and you're going to have to go against that Alabama offensive line, I would have said, oh, well, that's a major problem. Question is, is it? Now, Mekhi Wingo's out in this game, and you're going to have a sub there, and likely Jordan Jefferson. But Mason Smith looks to be a little bit healthier, and you've got some veterans there on the edge. Brian Kelly met with the media on Monday and talked about what kind of defensive line he expects to put out on the field on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think Jordan Jefferson's playing at a high level. It's graded out probably as our best defensive tackle. Physical at the point of attack, uses his hands well. It's getting great separation. Gap integrity has been outstanding. It's playing really well. Parashan, technically very, very good. Grading out at the top for our defensive line over the last 3 weeks. And Swinson's been really good in pass rush. So those 3 guys, as much as it hurts that, we don't have a few of the guys that we got in the portal at the defensive back position, those 3 guys, and having Omar back too, makes a difference. Having a veteran linebacker who knows the game really well, those 4 guys have made a significant difference for us.
Because you look back at some of the games LSU has played to this point, and even though Missouri's 116 yards don't look gaudy, they kind of ran it whenever they wanted to. Had a running back to go over 100 yards. They gashed LSU on the ground. Ole Miss had a field day on this LSU defensive front. 49 carries for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe might throw for 330 and 4 touchdowns on Saturday. He might not. I'd like to see them try that. You just can't let Alabama turn around and run it right down your throats. You just can't. LSU has got to find a way to slow Alabama down on the ground and make Jalen Milroe into a mid-range passer. Now, he may eat up a depleted secondary up. I don't know. But if you start by losing on the ground game and then you start having to creep guys up and then you let Milroe throw the deep ball, it's just going to be lights out. It will be lights out. LSU has to find a way to do what South Florida did and Texas A&M did and Tennessee did for the most part, and really Ole Miss, who only gave up 24 points. Hold your own at the point of attack, make some potentially game-changing plays in the backfield, which Alabama allows at a rate higher than anybody in the SEC, and see if you can't put Jalen Milroe into some 3rd and 13s. That's about all I got for you as far as potential advantages when Alabama has the football. But there's hope there because there have been some issues. Harold Perkins, meet Caden Proctor, the freshman left tackle. See what you can do. Perkins, athletically, got a pretty significant advantage there. Now, in terms of size, he's given up 120 pounds. But quickness and athleticism, see what you can do. It's going to be one of the places on the field that I think LSU can make a difference in this game. It should be a fascinating matchup come Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. Plenty to get to here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope that first half of your work week was a good one, maybe dragging a little bit because you're getting ready for Saturday night, LSU and Alabama. But we'll get you there one way or another. One of the ways we'll get you there is with our guy JD Picell from 1-3 Sports. He will join us next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There is a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, no withdrawal bonus. Method expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Voisin, inviting you to join me and the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Our special guest, McKinley head football coach Ron Allen. It's Louisiana Prep Weekly, tonight at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
SEC football power rankings an hour and 15 minutes from right now on this Wednesday. But it is Wednesday. That means it's time to head to the Jim's Firearms Hotline to chat with our guy, JD Picell from On3 Sports. He is the host of the Hard Count and joins us every Wednesday. JD, how we doing?
Brother, doing better now. A lot of HPS, a little What If Wednesday going on. Christmas music season has officially arrived after Halloween is now like all on clearance sale. Brother, I'm doing phenomenal. How are you doing?
It's Bama week down here. It can get a little testy at times, but I think we're all doing okay. The week tends to drag a little bit when the Crimson Tide are next up, but we'll get there one way or another. Let's go back before we go forward, JD. Should Carson Beck get any Heisman consideration at this point?
I think so, man. I think so. And the original concern, I suppose, if you're a Georgia fan, would have been, well, he's probably going to split votes with Brock Bowers, or maybe even the worst-case scenario for Brock Bowers, he'll take away votes from Brock Bowers. But, I mean, the way that he's operating, man, he does not look anything like a first-year starting quarterback. I mean, everyone knows the stats. He's over 73% completion percentage. But, I mean, the thing that's impressed me the most has just been the way that he's played so mistake-free, and there's never been a spot where he's really, truly looked rattled. Like, I know they were down to Auburn and down to South Carolina, and then you go into this big spot against Florida, who's coming off, you know, the great football they played against South Carolina with that fourth quarter win. But, like, as a whole, he's looked so poised and distributed the ball to their playmakers and done exactly what's been asked of him. So he's not the most flashy. He's not putting up, you know, the gaudy highlights where he's doing Pat Mahomes no-look passes and all that. But I think by nature of what he's done for Georgia and how well he's playing right now, I think he has to at least be in the conversation and has a chance to make some moves here with the way that Georgia's schedule shakes out with 3 big opponents the next 3 weeks.
No massively shocking results on Saturday other than Kansas beating Oklahoma. What can you say about the job that Lance Leopold has done at Kansas?
Man, it is just phenomenal that we're even talking about Kansas football being, one, relevant, much less beating a team like Oklahoma. And, I mean, I think the way that he's done it has been nothing short of, I mean, true to what he did at Buffalo in terms of trying to control the line of scrimmage. And I think modern college football as it stands right now has kind of lent itself to first-year head coaches, you know, getting things rolling in a quicker fashion. I understand Lance Leipold's not a first-year head coach, but, I mean, the tracking he's gotten in a short amount of time. Made a lot of moves through the portal to you know, get the roster where it needs to be competitive. And, I mean, I'll say this, with Oklahoma and Texas both leaving next year, it feels like there's going to be a couple of spots open when it comes to the more talented teams in the conference. And I'm just curious where Kansas falls into line there, because I don't think there's a much better, you know, job been done in the country with what Kansas was previously and where they are right now with Lance Leipold. So can't say enough good things, and it's awesome.
It kind of lends itself to saying, well, we'll even be at Kansas next year. If you're going to win games like that at Kansas, you figure somebody's going to pick up the phone and make a phone call.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some jobs open now, too. Michigan State, obviously, is the one everyone's looking at, and it feels like that'll be the domino. But, yeah, I mean, I wonder, too, like, do you not think a little bit like, okay, well, Kansas, if we can get the resources we need and the NIL in order, like, we're going to be in whatever this Power 4 conference structure will be if we get a Big 12 bid every single year if we're conference champs. So, I don't know, but that'll be a conversation for sure. You call him and make him say no.
Do you have any strong opinions on the initial college football playoff rankings last night?
Not in a negative sense. Not in a negative sense. I think we all understand it's a resume as opposed to best team. Like I was pleased to see Boo Corrigan say, hey, if they want to dock Michigan, that's an NCAA issue, not a college football playoff issue. Like I think that was the thing that encouraged me the most, was to see it's not going to be a thing where you punish the guys in that locker room that had nothing to do with sign stealing, as opposed to probably wanting to punish Jim Harbaugh. So I think that's like the main takeaway. I kind of look at it like your first exam you get back during a class. Like, does it define your grade in the class? No. Does it kind of set the course for what you can do the rest of the semester? Yeah. And so I think a lot of those top six are dealing with, like, the A+ to A- kind of grade on that first exam, and we'll see how they do on the midterm.
Can a 2-loss LSU get into the college football playoff? You would have Alabama and likely Georgia still on the schedule with Florida and A&M.
It can happen. I would be surprised if it happened. A lot would have to happen for that to happen. We had that question asked today on our show, actually, during our live chat portion. I started to try and do the math, and I was like, the ACC needs to probably have some things go wrong. The Pac-12 probably needs to have some things go wrong. So it's not impossible, but I just think by nature of the point we're at with how many undefeateds we have and how many one-loss teams that look good right now that are probably going to run the table, or at least get to the conference title game with one loss, it would surprise me. But like you said, the meat on the bone does not if there were a 2-loss team, it would have to be LSU. That's going to make it in. I don't think any other 2-loss team is sitting there saying they have a chance to get in.
We shall see. Got to take care of business on Saturday night first. So let's talk about Saturday night. Let's we can start with LSU Alabama. That's fine. How do you think LSU matches up with this Crimson Tide team in Tuscaloosa?
I think the path for LSU. And I was talking to Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger about this a little bit. I thought he brought up a great point. Like, it really does come down to how many stops do you need if you're LSU. And the thing that I worry about is the pressure for that offense to feel of we have to score every time we touch it in a spot where you're on the road. And now it can be done. Do not get it twisted. It could be done. I think we saw the quantity of weapons that Texas had really take advantage of Alabama's secondary. I just worry about the kind of ball Alabama's playing right now. I think they're starting to catch their stride. But also to say, an LSU victory, I think, looks a lot like a shootout. I think it's a high pace. We're scoring almost every time we touch it. And Jaden Daniels probably has his Heisman moment. So I don't think it's unlikely by the stretch of the imagination that they find a way to get it done, but I probably do lean Bama right now as it pertains to just the matchups as a whole and it being in Tuscaloosa.
What do you think Matt House's goal as LSU's defensive coordinator? You've got probably your top 3 corners out and probably your best defensive lineman out in this game. But you do have the crutch of a really good offense that's going to help you out a little bit. What do you think his goal is going into Tuscaloosa?
I think this is classic. Let's risk it in exchange for a pastry, or let's just call it a biscuit. Let's say you risk it for a biscuit, and you cut Harold Perkins all the way loose. Like, I know there's a lot of thought around how good he's been in coverage and his draft stock, but there's no way around the fact that he is someone who can take over a game on the defensive side of the ball, getting after the passer in Jalen Milroe. And as good as Alabama is downfield, they're horrible protecting Jalen Milroe. And as a whole, like, those passing concepts deep, they aren't like, catch, rock, throw, one step and a hitch, throw it deep. It's like, take 3-step drop. We're going to go ahead and hitch up. Like, there's going to be a little bit of a shot clock there if they can speed that up and, one, get to him and disrupt some drives. That's the first thing. And then second thing, if you can create extra possessions and give Jaden Daniels more bullets, like, okay, hey, we're cooking with some grease here and probably eating biscuits. So that, I think, would be the way that you would want to live if you're LSU and if you're Matt House defensively.
How many points do you think LSU's going to score, realistically? This is probably the best defense they've seen?
I think they'll still be in the 30s. Like, I still think Alabama will have to find a way to control the tempo and still find a way to get in that, 5-touchdown range to win. I think LSU's going to get theirs, to be honest. I just worry about how well Alabama's going to run the football and try and limit Jaden Daniels' possessions. Like, if we're all kind of thinking about this logically, you probably want to see Jaden Daniels without his helmet on the sideline more than you want to see him in the game and dicing up your secondary. So I think they're still going to score a lot of points. Again, I just worry about the tempo of the game. Now, I will say this, too. When we watch Texas play Alabama, I understand it's a different Alabama team, but Texas and the quantity of weapons that they had, I think, was really what gave Alabama fits. And that reminds me a lot of what I think LSU is going to be able to do. I think it's kind of the the yes and game for that pass catcher room. The yes, Malik Neighbors had a big game, and it was Kyron Lacey, and it was Brian Thomas. And I think the family style approach, if you're calling it like a meal, I think that's the way you got to eat if you're LSU to be able to score enough to set the pace.
He's JD Picell, host of The Hard Count on 3 Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe up to their channel on YouTube. You can get those videos daily from 3 and our guy JD Picell. How big a game is this for A&M and Ole Miss, and who's it a bigger game for in Oxford on Saturday morning?
Man, it feels like A&M's just living the Survivor reality show every single week. Like they find themselves in the bottom 2. Are they getting voted off the island this week? Nope, they beat South Carolina. Okay, well, they got Ole Miss this coming week. Are they going to, find a way to stay on the island? Not to say a loss is going to get Jimbo Fisher fired, or at least from the outside looking in at this point, it doesn't feel that way. But if you can beat Ole Miss, I mean, how much would that do for morale in College Station? You take down the top 10 team, you take down Lane Kiffin, and the way that he's kind of thrown some subtle jabs or not so subtle jabs at Jimbo Fisher, like, it has all the storylines. I think it's a bigger game for A&M by nature of what's going on with Jimbo Fisher. But Ole Miss, when we talk about the college football playoff and teams that could make a push here at the end, who's to say Ole Miss isn't that team? If LSU ends up beating Bama and Ole Miss, is able to take care of business this weekend, they would have a lot to play for as well. So probably bigger for A&M big picture, but definitely a big rung in the ladder to climb if you're Ole Miss.
If Ole Miss wins this game, they go to Athens at 8-1 and 5-1 in SEC play, and I would suggest it would be the biggest game in that program's history since Eli Manning played LSU in 2003 for the West. I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at for Ole Miss, but A&M may be trying to save their coaching staff, so we'll see. That one will have my attention at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Back to the SEC. Missouri's going to Georgia. I've been impressed with Missouri, quite frankly. I've dismissed them early in the year. They've been pretty good, but Georgia's had some of these quote-unquote lower-level teams show up and try to make a statement, and they've kind of whack-a-moled them. What do you think about Saturday in Athens?
Yeah, I mean, Missouri last year when Georgia went to Missouri, that was honestly probably the best game we saw outside of Kentucky for the Dogs. So there's a bit of a familiarity there when it comes to Eli Drinkwitz. I think it really does all start and end with Missouri being able to utilize Luther Burden. Like Georgia, I think is just the best matchup team in the country. Pick a matchup, they probably have the favorite in that outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. lining up across from you. I think Missouri has to really scheme things up effectively for Luther Burden to get open and then find ways to get him the ball creatively and kind of have him be the biggest impact as possible for Missouri in this game. The thing that worries me is I think Georgia, the way they're operating offensively right now and the way they're stopping the run defensively, like they could kind of push Missouri into a corner early where they have to throw the ball, and Georgia knows they have to throw the football to keep pace and because they're not able to get north and south. And in that situation, when Georgia knows you got to throw the football, I think you're in trouble. So I think there's a path for Missouri to kind of make this interesting, and it starts with Luther Burden, like I said, but ultimately I think Georgia is just too much, and then they're playing their best ball right now, and it's in Athens, and so I think they win. I think they cover, too, to be honest with you, Hunt.
Notre Dame and Clemson at 11 o'clock on ABC from Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson 4-4. Dabo's yelling at fans on the coaching show. What's going on at Clemson?
You tell me, huh? I have no earthly idea. Like, listening to that clip, the first thing I thought was like, man, this radio host is just leaving Dabo out to dry.
Yeah.
My man Tyler from Spartanburg is getting off a full soliloquy just on the air.
Producers got to hit the dump button. You just got to get rid of that guy. Bang, it's over.
Have to. Situational awareness, right? Have to. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on there. I will say this, though, like, if you're Clemson, if there's one game you're getting juiced up for and you're going to draw the line in the sand, like, you would think it would be this one. Probably have a hard time picking Clemson to win this one, even though it is in Death Valley, but just by nature of what they haven't done offensively and how good Notre Dame looked against USC. I'll ride with Notre Dame, but yeah, I think the conversation after the Duke game was, well, what's up with Clemson and their roster? They got to go to the portal, and now it's kind of drifted past that to like, whoa, what's up with Clemson? Period. Like they're unrecognizable in every sense. So very, very curious. Probably a lot of changes coming, you would think, when it comes to this offseason.
You hitting the road this weekend watching some football? What's the deal?
Man, we are hitting the Sony Stadium in the living room and just inhaling all the college football as possible. Potentially next week, though, we'll get on the road. So we'll see. But, yeah, we're watching all of it as much as possible and getting after it Sunday morning.
See, when you said that, I just assumed that Sony had bought the naming rights to some stadium, and I didn't know which one it was. I mean, you got Kroger Field in Lexington. Somebody's in the Albertson Center. I think that's like Boise State. I thought Sony had dropped a check down. But, yeah, enjoy the couch and enjoy some football this weekend. We'll talk next week.
Appreciate it, man. You have a great one.
You too. That's JD Picell, hosted the Hard Count on 3. Talked a little bit about LSU Bama earlier today as well. You can find that on their YouTube channel. What If Wednesday next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Imagine this. You're watching LSU Bama. Got some folks over. Got the drinks out. Dips everywhere. And the power goes out. That's not great. Probably going to be some irritated people, some annoyed people, some mad people. You can protect yourself against that with a generator from Boudreaux Electric. They are a certified Generac generator dealer. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. And every generator they sell you comes with a free 10-year warranty. Free 99. Best price out there for that 10-year warranty. Don't wait. Call Boudreaux Electric today at 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. They will get you hooked up with that a Generac generator, and you'll be protected from those power outages all year long. Boudreaux Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Paul Nolan, Dwayne Colucci, and Matt Humans all among our guests, and we're getting ready for a huge college football weekend. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Thursday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, hour 2 is coming up. I have some thoughts on the college football playoffs, some sound from Brian Kelly, my SEC football power rankings. You know the drills on Wednesdays, and if you know the drill on Wednesday, you know it is time for What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if you could alter the nutritional value of one food/beverage item forever? I think I know what your answer is going to be.
So I'm basically, the question is, can I take something really unhealthy and make it broccoli? In terms of nutritional value. There are a few things bouncing around in my head. I mean, obviously, if I could drop the calorie count and like the negative impacts that like beer has, we'd have to get on board with that pretty quick. Pizza comes immediately to mind as well. It sounds, and then the other one, which I think is a little ridiculous, but if I could change the nutritional value of it to water, I'd love Coca-Cola Classic. Just absolutely love an ice cold Coke. It tastes so good. I love it in the morning. I love it on the golf course. I love it all the time. But it's not very good for you, so I don't drink a ton of it. I give myself some treats on Fridays at times, and I'll have a Coke Zero, generally speaking. I love a Coke and could drink. I mean, it was brought to my attention someone in my wife's inner circle drinks 6 Dr. Peppers a day. And everyone was talking about how, like, God, that sounds like the worst idea ever. Like, if you could tell me that it was not going to negatively impact my health at all for me to knock down 6 Coca-Colas in a given day, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, it's funny you say that, Hunt, because I actually have a grandmother who drinks Coca-Colas religiously. She probably drinks at least 4 bottles a day.
That's fantastic.
And she's in her mid-70s, so she's still kicking.
I mean, just tastes delicious. She's having a better time than I am, quite frankly, chugging this water all day. So I'm all for it. That's probably the humorous answer, but pizza's probably the answer.
All right, moving on here. What if you could rewatch a show from the beginning without any knowledge?
It's got to be Breaking Bad for me, I think. That's the best one. I've liked some shows that haven't been as highly critically acclaimed. Like, I thought Friday Night Lights was awesome when I watched that all the way through.
I think that's kind of got like a following now. People think it's good.
I loved that. I was watching that in like circa like 2011-ish. But Breaking Bad's just the best. If I could go back and rewatch that without knowing what's going to happen, I would dive in on that quickly.
All right, moving on here. What if you had to play every minute of every game with the dream team?
So it's me and Jordan and Ewing and Bird and Magic, and I've got to play every minute. I still think we win the gold medal convincingly. They were beating everybody by a bajillion. I would just sag off on defense. If you want to shoot a 3, you can fire away, but I'm going to sag back in here and try to show some resistance, and I don't have to do anything on offense. They're still going to score 120 points. So yeah, we'd still win the gold. That'd be cool. I'd like to be remembered with the dream team. I could be like Leitner. No one cares about Leitner on that team. I'd take a spot.
Absolutely. What if I told you LSU would score exactly 30 points on Saturday?
I don't think that gets there. I truly believe Alabama will score more than 31 points. So I don't think 30 gets there. I think LSU has a great chance to score more than 30 points, but if you told me entering the game they were going to score exactly 30, I have a hard time believing LSU's defense is going to hold Alabama to essentially 28, 29 points. I just don't see it. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would be shocked if they can hold Alabama to less than 30 points, but they give up, however, 40 to Missouri, 55 to Ole Miss. I would be surprised by that.
It's difficult for me. I have to hone back in on how good LSU is offensively and how close Bama plays games almost every week. That's what we talked about yesterday. It just is difficult for me to breathe out and go, okay, LSU is going to have to go score 35, 38 points to win this game in Tuscaloosa, because I'm still can harken back to those Saban teams in like 2010, 11, 12, 13, like where it was hard to score any points on Alabama. Alabama shut LSU out 3 times in the Saban era. So that was a trivia question at Pluckers last night, by the way. So it's just hard for me to come to grips with like, hey, you probably need to go score 38 points in Tuscaloosa, but I have to circle back around and go, hey, they can do it. They're pretty good.
All right, this one's from Twitter. What if Jackson doesn't drop the pass in the flat against Ole Miss?
Yeah, that felt huge. Because I remember watching it. They're talking about Caleb Jackson. There was a little first down, little out route that hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it and it put LSU behind the sticks in what was just obviously a track meet back and forth. And I was like, man, that doesn't feel good. And then I was watching Whiskey and Wine later that night after I got done, and Matt said he thought that was the point in the game that he felt like, oh, this might not end well. And it just, I don't know, because he's going to probably get 8 yards or a first down there, and LSU was cooking. You're trying to, as long as LSU's ahead of the sticks, especially against a team like Ole Miss, they're going to be in a position to continue to convert first downs and score points. They did it at will against Ole Miss and against Missouri. Put yourself behind the sticks there, and you're on the road. That was a big spot, unfortunately.
All right, last one here from Nookie on Twitter. What if Hunt the Fan had not had an employer willing to be flexible on his hours and start time in 2016?
Okay. So what that's referring to is in 2016, Les got fired, and O got the interim job, and Derek left the morning show to go work for LSU football. So Jordy, who was doing the morning show with Derek at the time, called me and said, hey, I need you to be I need you to be on the air with me at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I was like, huh? So we did that. I had to call my boss. I was in insurance at the time. And I said, hey, got this idea. I'm going to be on from 7 to 9 in the morning in Baton Rouge. My office is right downtown. I can be at work at 9:08 every morning. I think it might be decent for some name exposure. And plus, I kind of want to do it. And my employer at the time was gracious enough to let me do it. And that kind of got my foot in the door. When I'd gotten out of sports media, that kind of got me back in. I was still going on with the morning guys. And so I was still doing it for 15 minutes a week, but that got me in for 2 hours. And then that result, I eventually got on with the LSU Sports Radio Network, which kept me in radio. And then I did my podcast, and all of a sudden opportunity opened up here. And now I'm doing this full time as my job, when I had elected in 2014 to get out of sports media altogether and try to do something different. And this came full circle. I don't know if the opportunity to do the LSU Sports Radio Network comes up if I don't do the morning show. It might, because I knew Chris. I had him on. I talked to him on the air, and he was familiar with the 104.5 ESPN folks and the schedule and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that happens, but it's crazy to think about if they said, no, you can't do that. I would have had to, stick to insurance 9 to 5, and may still be doing that today. And that's not quite as much fun, dealing with the old general liability policy, layered umbrellas, workers' comp rates. It's not quite as much fun as breaking down Bama's defensive line here, which we'll do later on. So yeah, that was a huge moment. You never know what's going to happen, a change of one domino. I guess if that throw into the corner of the end zone is ruled a touchdown instead of incomplete and LSU beats Auburn, maybe I'm not sitting here. That's the butterfly effect of all of it, I guess. It's crazy stuff. But interesting question there, Nookie. Appreciate those of you on Twitter for chiming in with some what-ifs today. All right, we got one segment left in hour number 1. We'll talk Saints in hour 2. We will talk some sound from Brian Kelly in hour number 2. We'll get to my SEC Power Rankings in hour number 2. Take it or leave it in hour number 2 as well. When we come back, my thoughts on the college football playoff announcement from last night and what impact that has, if any, on LSU. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street. The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further.
Voisin, inviting you to join me and the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Our special guest, McKinley head football coach Ron Allen. It's Louisiana Prep Weekly, tonight at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This just released by LSU's men's basketball program. It says a statement from LSU Athletics on men's basketball student athlete Jalen Cook. LSU recently learned that the NCAA denied an immediate eligibility waiver for men's basketball student athlete Jalen Cook. Since then, we have submitted additional information for the NCAA for reconsideration and are awaiting their next ruling. We believe strongly in the merit of Jalen's case for immediate eligibility upon his return to LSU, and we will continue to fight for him. We appreciate the NCAA's emphasis on student-athlete wellness and mental health, and we thank them for their diligence and continued consideration of Jalen's case. So what that says is the NCAA saw Jalen Cook's release and decided to deny that. LSU is essentially appealing is what it sounds like. However, we know how long this has taken. LSU has been looking for this information for months, literally. And so it would be surprising to me if LSU had something additional that they hadn't provided initially that was going to swing the pendulum. I would think you would make your best case while this long, drawn-out thing was going on. I don't know the inner workings of it. We talked to Matt McMahon on Monday. He said, look, this is a kind of a private deal in terms of the details, so we can't dive into it. We just think it's a good case. And I'm looking from the outside without knowing the details of the case going, well, it better be a really good case because the NCAA is not really in the business right now of letting folks transfer twice and play. They are basically doing what they can to make sure that that doesn't happen. Now, in some cases, like the Tez Walker case in North Carolina, they've had enough reason to believe, hey, that player should be eligible. In this case, I just think LSU's going to have to play this season without Jalen Cook, and that compromises this team. It's just that's the one guy they don't have a true replacement for. So I thought Mike Williams did a pretty good job on Monday. I thought that Carlos Stewart did a pretty good job on Monday, and we'll see what Trey Hannibal can do in that spot as well. But just none of them are quite Jalen Cook. So bit of a bummer, but certainly not surprising that LSU got the news. The NCAA has declined that waiver. If new information comes to light and they get him eligible, that'd be great. I'm not going to count on that as we sit here on the 1st of November. It is the 1st of November, which means the college football college football playoff rankings came out. Power rankings coming up in 40 minutes, SEC style on this show. But the college football playoff rankings were released, and there's really no surprise here at all. All of the undefeated teams are in the top 5. All of the one-loss teams come next, and then all the two-loss teams. The only team that bucks that trend, or two teams, are Tulane and Air Force. Essentially, they throw all the Power 5 teams in and go, who's got 0 losses? Rank those. Who's got 1 loss? Rank those. Who's got 2 losses? Rank those. Throw them together. That's it. And that's really always been the way that college football has operated. It matters far more how many times you've lost than it matters who you've beaten. And that's the thing that's always kind of irked me about this whole thing. They're just not going to think outside the box and put a 1-loss team above an unbeaten team. They're not going to put a 2-loss team above a 1-loss team. They're going to need real compelling evidence to do so. And they didn't do it at all last night. And you look at it and say, okay, here's the undefeated teams. They did obviously took into account who you've beaten because Ohio State has that win over Penn State, which is more impressive than anything Georgia or Michigan has done. So they put them first, and that's what I said yesterday. I said it would be Ohio State first. I said Georgia second. I said Michigan third. I said Florida State fourth. So I got those correct. However, I didn't get it right once you got down to 6 and 7, where I had Texas in front of Oregon based on their win in Tuscaloosa. But I think their thought is that Oregon's loss is better than Texas's loss, is all I'm getting at, because Washington's undefeated and Oklahoma has lost a game. So it is what it is. The question becomes, can LSU make a push? And I asked JD Picell that in the 115 segment, and he said he thought it would be very difficult, and I would tend to agree with that. You have to really think that Ohio State is going to be, or Michigan, the Ohio State winner is likely going to be undefeated and leaving the other with 1 loss. Washington, Oregon, going to be probably a 1-loss Power 5 champ. Florida State's likely an undefeated Power 5 champ, maybe a 1-loss Power 5 champ, but a Power 5 champ that beat you. So that's not great. Oklahoma's got a chance to throw their hat in the ring as well. So you're running out of spots. You're going to need some chaos. Now, chaos generally happens, and chaos would be winning in Tuscaloosa against Alabama and winning in Atlanta against Georgia. That would be the strongest 2-loss resume in college football playoff history. Question is, are they going to trump your 2 losses with, nice wins? They have not proven in the past that they're willing to do that, and certainly didn't last night, where they once again ranked everybody just by how many losses they have with no regard for who you've beaten. It's just the way they operate, and it's the easy way to operate. So LSU's got a lot of work to do before we got to worry about whether or not they're going to make the college football playoff. But it's fun to think about this time of year. LSU was right there in striking distance with 2 losses last year prior to getting beat by Texas A&M. You were right there on the edge because of your win over Alabama. If you can get there again and then cash it in against Georgia, you probably got a reasonable case to get in. But, hey, I guess you take care of the first thing first. And the first thing is going to Tuscaloosa and finding a way to beat Nick Saban and Alabama. I gave you some thoughts on LSU and Alabama to open the show today. You can find those on Hunt on LSU, our LSU football YouTube channel. No basketball, no baseball there, all football, Hunt on LSU. So if you're a football head and want the football stuff, We got it. Hunt on LSU. Had JD Picell, host of the Hard Count on the On3 Network, as we always do on Wednesdays. It was a What If Wednesday. We talked food. We talked Dream Team. We talked watching TV. Talked my career. We talked plenty of things in What If Wednesday. If you missed any or all of that, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All of our shows are archived there every day in their entirety. It's got OTB. It's got Live at Lunch. It's got the Hunt Palmer Show. Got AFR. So check out 1045ESPN.com. If you're an app person, which I think most people are, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google. Had somebody email me yesterday saying, hey, I was listening to the show on Spotify. We appreciate that, too. Search for the Hunt Palmer Show on one of your podcast apps. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We really appreciate that. Hour 2 is coming at you fast and furious at 2:15. We're going to hear some sound from Brian Kelly from yesterday, as well as the SEC teleconference today. My SEC Power Rankings are coming up 35 minutes from right now. We'll see if there's any shakeup during LSU's bye week. When we come back after SportsCenter, the Bears made an acquisition yesterday. He'll be in the Dome on Sunday. What does that mean for the black and gold? We'll talk about that coming up after SportsCenter. Hope your work week is moving right along as we get ready for LSU and Bama. Come back with us after SportsCenter.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, Our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is celebrating Ram Power Days with $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 1500 trucks, $15,000 off, and a 1 million mile warranty. Plus, we'll pay your trade-off regardless of what you owe. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A champion could be crowned tonight. Rangers can win their first World Series in franchise history with a victory against the Diamondbacks in Game 5. 7 Eastern ESPN Radio. It's Nate Eovaldi and Zach Gallen. Raiders shaking things up midway through a forgettable season. Fired coach Josh McDaniels and GM Dave Ziegler. Linebackers coach Antonio Pierce, interim coach. Assistant GM Champ Kelly, interim GM. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo has been benched for rookie Aiden O'Connell as well. Raiders promising a comprehensive search for a head coach after the season. Unsportsmanlike co-host Chris Canty.
Go out and get somebody that you know can do the job, not somebody that is a projection. And to me, you got to have somebody that shows you tangible evidence that we've seen have success as an NFL head coach, just because there are so many degrees of difficulty, so many different layers to this Raiders job because of all of the dysfunction that's been happening year over year.
Bears running backs coach David Walker fired over his workplace behavior. Second Chicago assistant coach to leave the staff this season. Falcons will start quarterback Taylor Heineke against the Vikings on Sunday.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Thursday, have the Steelers seen enough to believe that Kenny Pickett is their quarterback of the future? My answer just might surprise you. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, half that work week officially in the rear view mirror. We are now working towards the weekend. Glad you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're LSU Bama on Saturday. Saints and Bears in the Dome on Sunday. Y'all all know this by now. I get a lot of Chicago content headed my way because of my affinity for the baseball team on the north side there, and because of that, I catch some Bears whiffs from now and again, and they're generally not very pleasant. The folks in the Windy City are not thrilled with their football team, and really haven't been in a very, very long time. This is a season that Bears fans very much were anticipating, because finally they could look up and say, okay, we've got a quarterback that might be great. And for the first time in 30-plus years, Favre and Rodgers are not up north. They got Jordan Love. They might stink. They don't have a Hall of Famer playing quarterback anymore. This is our time to rise up and seize control of the NFC North. We don't have to worry about the Lions. They always stink. Nobody trusts the Vikings in January. The Packers quarterback dynasty is over. This is the time for us to show up and play. And they promptly took the field in the season opener and got hammered by said Packers in Soldier Field. And it's really been pretty poor ever since. You look up, and this is a 2-6 team with significant quarterback issues. They were trying to sing the praises of Badgett last week as a quarterback savior from D2 instead of the Heisman finalist in Justin Fields. It's bad in Chicago, okay? But they did make a move this week. Yesterday, to be exact. And they brought in Montez Sweat. Shipped off a second rounder. They got a lot of draft capital. Got a couple early first-round picks. They're trying to sign a player to help them in the short term, but more so to extend him long-term as a pass rusher. Since they got rid of Roquan Smith in the first fire sale, the Bears really haven't had anybody to rush the passer. That's evidence in the fact that they are dead last in the NFL in sacks this year. They've got 10 in 8 games. And you could say, and I thought, like, well, they probably don't face as many pass attempts as other teams because they're always losing and teams are probably trying to run the ball. Maybe that's the reason. Nope, not true. Only 4 teams have faced more pass attempts in the NFL than the Bears this year, and still only 10 sacks in 8 games. There is not a single player on the Bears roster with more than 2 total sacks on the season this year. So they go get Montez Sweat. He's got 35.5 sacks in his career in Washington since 2019. Of course, a product of Mississippi State. We know him well down here in the Southeastern Conference. And this year, he's got 6.5 sacks on the season. He's got 10 tackles for loss. He is an upper-tier pass rusher in the NFL. Is he T.J. Watt or one of the Bosa brothers? No. Is he a high-end pass rusher in the NFL? He is. And he's going to be ready to roll on Sunday in the Dome. We understand what the Saints' offensive line has been this year. When it was healthy, it stunk. When it got hurt, it was even worse. And they tried to patch some holes. They bring in free agents. They're trying to move people around, figure out where things need to be. And they were a little bit better last week in a win. And they weren't awful against Jacksonville, quite frankly. They weren't awful. They weren't great, but they weren't awful. They were a little better last week. You go on the road, get a nice win in Indy. Now you come home. And you thought, as of 26 hours ago, that, okay, well, we're going to face the worst pass rush in the NFL. Our offensive line's playing a little bit better. That's really all we need because Derek Carr can throw for 300 yards. He throws for 300 yards all the time. You've got Chris Olave who can make plays, and Michael Thomas has been okay, and we've got this new toy in Rashid Shaheed that's been really, really good at making plays down the field. Like, as long as we don't have to worry about the disruptive pass rush, like, we're okay. And the Bears have the worst one in the league. So this is going to be a great opportunity for us on our home field to get the offense going. And then Montez Sweat gets at it. You're going, okay, well, we'll see. Andrews Pete's probably going to be at left tackle. Ryan Ramczyk ready to go at right tackle. I haven't seen the injury report today. That's the bad part about the time of day of my show is that the injury report comes right when I'm getting off the air. But you figure those are going to be your 2 bookends, and Montez Sweat's going to be lined up against those guys a lot. You need Ryan Ramczyk to play at a Pro Bowl level. That's got to be an expectation for him at this point. And Andrews Pete's just got to be okay. And he was okay last week. You need Derek Carr to understand that he's got a guy playing a little out of position on his left side. But I would imagine the Bears will take a look at this and go, do we want to send our new gadget here? Or, we got this Montez Sweat. Do we want to send him against Ramczyk on the quarterback's good side? Or do we want to put him over here? That's where Andrews Pete stands, and Carr can't see that way. Seems like that would be the more reasonable explanation. And that's what you should expect. Now, the question is, can the Saints block them, and can the Saints score some points? The Chargers dropped 30 on this team. Denver, who's not good on offense, scored 31 on this team. Kansas City, pretty good on offense, scored 41. Tampa and Baker Mayfield, 27. Green Bay scored 38 in that game I mentioned to open the segment. So this is a team that's given up a lot of points, that's given up a lot of yards, that hasn't really rushed the passer. Do you think one guy's going to fix all that? Probably not. Do we think morale's all that high in the Windy City? Probably not. Is this Bears defense the 85 Bears or even a good defense? It is not. The Saints should try to find some momentum in this game. It's a week-to-week league, and no, one win doesn't bleed over to the next, and one loss doesn't have to bleed over to the next. But the Colts game maybe was an inflection point for this season. Because if you lose that game in Indy and come back having lost 3 in a row and having lost 5 of 6, the Dome crowd's going to turn on you. They just showed it in the Jacksonville game. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to allow these diehard Houdat fans to come in there and go, well, we did score 38 on the Colts, and we're at home. We got the Bears. And then next week, we got the Vikings, who don't have a quarterback. They just traded for Josh Dobbs. And then we got the Falcons. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Like, this could be a spot to get in on a run. Then all of a sudden, the Dome crowd comes to life. It's not wearing bags in their head and booing everybody. It's like, well, can we kind of take control of this division? It sounds crazy. It probably is crazy. I continue to think that the long-term health of the franchise might be on a little bit of thin ice. But the short term doesn't have to be. This Bears team stinks, and I don't think Montez Sweat's going to change it. Tell Andrews Pete and Ryan Ramczyk to keep him at bay for most of this game, and you ought to be able to go up and down the field, score some points, and you ought to be able to beat the Bears. Those are my thoughts. Going to be Badgett again. You wouldn't imagine that you're going to need a lot of points to outscore him. The Saints should be in reasonable shape coming up on Sunday against the Bears. We shall see. It'll be a noon kickoff on CBS from the Big Easy. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, some of the things that he's had to say about this LSU-Bama game in his Monday press availability, his SEC coaches teleconference thoughts earlier today. We'll do that before we get to our SEC Power Rankings here on this Wednesday. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is that website. Man, what would a new bathroom look like for you? Your dream bathroom. You can do it. You can do the whole thing. David Duvall and his team been doing it for 30 years. They can come in, set a plan for you. You can have a brand new space in your bathroom. And you don't have to call 4 contractors to get it done. You call 1. He handles everything. Maybe it's from an aesthetic perspective. You just need to modernize your bathroom. Maybe it's a safety issue for you or a loved one who lives in a place where they may be in some danger in the bathroom where things get a little slippery. You need to put a non-slip floor in there. If you need to put handrails near the shower or toilet area, maybe a walk-in tub would be more convenient. Let David Duvall and his team do it for you. You say, it's not a great time for me to pay for that. They have financing options now at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can see pictures of the great work. You can look at testimonials from satisfied customers, and you can request that free consultation where David and his team can come in and show you what they can do for you. You won't know unless you go to the website. I tell you about it every single day. It's onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scucha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. all of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding.
104.5 this Sunday to catch 3 different NFL games. We start with the noon kickoff, the Seahawks at Ravens. Immediately following that, it's the Cowboys and Eagles. And then our night game, the Bills at Bengals. Catch all of those games here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brian Kelly met with the SEC assembled media via teleconference this morning. He's always first on that call at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, and took to the phone lines today and answered some questions that I thought were interesting. The first one we were talking about was whether or not he'd like to see Alabama stay on the schedule. Obviously, you all understand that the SEC is in kind of limbo with what they want to do with their football schedules, and it's very clear that the league wants to go to 9 games. It's very clear that the universities and coaches said, hey, hold on a second. If we're not going to increase the money, then we're going to stick at 8. And we didn't do anything except just extend by 1 year, find a way to shoehorn Texas and Oklahoma in for next year, and then we'll kick the can down the road and figure it out at a later date. So we know that LSU is not playing Auburn next year. We know that LSU is not playing Mississippi State next year. We know that LSU is keeping A&M on the schedule and Alabama on the schedule. They're adding Oklahoma next year. We know that they're keeping Florida for next year. But we don't know what the future holds. So Brian Kelly was asked, hey, you're kind of new down here. You hadn't had a lot of history invested into this whole thing. Would you like to see Alabama on the schedule every year?
I think that we're going to have a say in what that scheduling looks like in terms of Alabama against LSU. I think that Commissioner Sankey has given us the opportunity to talk about the teams or teams that we want to keep on our schedule. And each school, I think, has those natural rivalries. And certainly, in talking to Scott Woodward, our AD, he and I both would be in agreement that LSU-Alabama is a game that we would like to see played every year.
So it's interesting that he says we have some say in that, and it's obvious that the SEC is taking some suggestions from its members, and they're saying, okay, what would you like to see? It doesn't mean that everybody's going to get granted exactly what they want, but in LSU's case, they're going to want to have Alabama on the schedule. And that's not stunning, but it also may not be reciprocated. Nick Saban was asked the same question today. He's seen this from both sides for a very long time. And he said, yeah, this is a game that has a lot of importance. It has a lot of fan interest and passion. It's been very consequential in terms of the standings of our division, which is going away. But we've also got rivals with Auburn and Tennessee. And that's the thing that LSU falls into all the time with these discussions. Well, we want to play Bama. And they're like, well, we got Auburn and Tennessee. Well, A&M, well, we got Texas now. Yeah. Oh, we want to play Auburn. Well, we got Georgia and we got Bama as well. Well, how about Florida? Well, they got Tennessee and they got this thing with Georgia and Florida State. And so you're never like, you don't have a partner in this at all. You're just kind of flapping in the breeze. And look, trust me, I think all those schools do value the history that the Auburn LSU game has been and the Florida LSU game has produced. I know I've heard Chris Doring talk about that a lot. I think A&M really embraces the game with LSU at the end of the season and has grown a strong dislike for LSU, and that is healthy to me. But they've got Big Brother coming in, and that's going to take precedence. The only one that's probably reaching and grabbing for LSU is Arkansas, and LSU's like, cool. No, thanks. So I don't know what the result is. We're going to put it up on the poll question of the day for the show. Do you want to see Alabama remain on the schedule? My thoughts on it, honestly, there are so many people between the ages of 12 and 30 who think of Alabama as what it is under Nick Saban. I can vividly recall my middle school and high school years where they were coached by Mike Shula, and LSU won 6 of 8, and Alabama wasn't going to Atlanta. So when I'm talking about what I want to see the schedule look like, and y'all know my feelings on LSU, wanting LSU to win games as opposed to play the toughest schedule in the nation, I realize that Alabama is not going to be the monster that they were for those 10, 12 years forever. They're going to be – Florida fell off a cliff. Miami fell off a cliff. Texas fell off a cliff. Tennessee fell off a cliff. Nebraska fell off a cliff. USC fell off a cliff. Michigan fell off a cliff. It happens everywhere, and it's going to happen in Tuscaloosa. Might not be the next guy, might be the next guy, but they're going to throw up an 8-4 here at some point at the end of Saban or when Saban leaves. There's just no guarantee that Alabama's a top 3 program in the country for perpetuity. Just like there's no guarantee that LSU is either. But I'm a little indifferent about it because of that. If I knew Alabama was about to go on a Saban-like run again, the one I just witnessed, I would not want them on the schedule every year. I would fight adamantly to get them out of my schedule. But I don't know what they're going to look like for the next 15 years. So I'm a little indifferent about it. I hate Alabama. We got to go to Tuscaloosa and play. Let's do it. If they're coming here, let's do it. If you're sending me to Norman, Oklahoma or Gainesville either, anyway, whatever. I'll go to Austin and play. Send the Aggies over here from College Station. That's fine. I'm not married to it. That's all I'm saying, but I think there are a lot of people that probably are. Brian Kelly, while he's not necessarily as familiar with the LSU-Alabama rivalry, he's very familiar with Alabama and Nick Saban, having played him multiple times at Notre Dame and then last year again here at LSU. So the question was asked him, what's it like to kind of get ready for a Nick Saban team, and how's that program evolved?
They're going to be stingy defensively, so it's finding ways to get points on the board. And then the past 5 years or so, they've become dynamic on the offensive side of the ball with playmakers. So it's that kind of situation where when I played them back in the national championship game in 12, they were overwhelmingly strong on both lines. So from an offensive standpoint, they were just so physical. Now they are, skilled and physical. And so they've added to who they are offensively, and they've always been that way defensively.
It's interesting because they've kind of morphed a little bit back into the physical downhill running team the last few weeks, and then they hit you over the top with the passing. It looks a little bit like the Julio Jones teams or Amari Cooper teams that were very, very, very much run first, but could make big plays through the air. This team, in my opinion, does not look like the Tua or Mac Jones or Bryce Young. Just took me forever to get there. It doesn't look like those teams offensively. They just look like they were people running all over the place. This doesn't. It looks a little bit more like the Power, and I think that's a credit to Alabama that they have the ability to kind of evolve over time and become a different team, throughout the course of 4, 5, 6 years. But it's going to be difficult to stop one way or another. And Brian Kelly kind of bragged on Jordan Jefferson as a guy that LSU is going to lean on a lot in the interior defense to try to slow this Alabama running game down.
He's been technically very good. I mean, he's strong. He's probably one of the strongest players on our team. So he's very explosive, playing with great technique, learning how to play the shade. He hadn't played a lot of that at West Virginia, so he's learning how to play that, and he's getting better each and every week. So I think this is just, a young man that is really playing at his potential, and it's just been a nice process to see him evolve into the player that he's become over the past month.
I talked in the first segment of the show today about how important it's going to be for LSU to slow Alabama down on the run. If you let Alabama run the ball, and then you've got to try to come up with numbers, and then they throw it over the top of you, and then they get the crowd involved. It could be an avalanche at that point. You don't want that, obviously. So LSU's going to have to stop the run, and one of the guys that's going to be tasked with doing that is Jordan Jefferson. And then you can try to get yourself into some 3rd and distances, some 3rd and 7, some 3rd and 11, and then you can try to do some things to make Jalen Milroe make a mistake. He can make a mistake. He made an awful throw in the red zone against Ole Miss. And I think his strength is certainly not in the 3rd and 13 game of making throws down the field. It's in the 1st and 10, 2nd and 2 deep shot game. And you want to stay away from that. But if you can get into some 3rd and distances against this Jalen Milroe offense, you can do some creative things, and that may force some mistakes. And one of the guys that we know that LSU can be very creative with is Harold Perkins. And Brian Kelly was asked about Perkins. They used him to spy a good bit last year against Bryce Young. Jalen Milroe would seem to be kind of a candidate for that. Is there a plan to kind of use use Harold Perkins in some different ways?
There are different fronts that we use, and 3rd down obviously is where you consider using the spy. And as you know, he's been part of our pass rush, and there are obviously opportunities to do some things with him that allow him, to rush or drop depending on, what the particular calls are. So, no, we wouldn't have to do anything to change the structure of the defense to include him into different segments of a defense that could include dropping, blitzing, spying, and still have it be part of our new structure.
It's difficult for me to see LSU winning this game without Perkins being a game changer. It's not out of the realm of possibility by any stretch for me to see LSU winning this game. I can see the roadmap to LSU winning this game. It just involves Perkins a lot. It involves him spying Milroe so that he can't get out and make a play to extend a drive with a third down run. It involves Perkins being athletic and fast and dealing with these mountainous tackles from Alabama that weigh 360 pounds, 340 pounds that, man, it might be hard to move that weight to get to Harold Perkins on the edge and see if he can't get in the backfield and do something totally disruptive. LSU defensively is not, in my opinion, going to make consistent stops. They can make game-changing plays. There's nobody on that team that's more equipped to make game-changing plays than Harold Perkins is. So, yes, the key for Matt House in this game is, okay, can I get in position to use Harold Perkins creatively? 2nd and 2, can't do squat with Harold Perkins. Useless. 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11, yep. 1st and 10, yeah. Can get a holding penalty on a pass rush. But you got to get him behind the chains and get him in some difficult down and distances so that you can use that creativity with Harold Perkins. He is a good matchup for LSU because he's every bit as fast as Jalen Milroe, and he can run with them, and he's quicker than these massive tackles that have struggled for Alabama, and he can get back there and make some things happen if you give him the opportunity. If Alabama stays ahead of the chains by pounding ahead, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards at a time in the running game, then you're going to be in some trouble. So I think Perkins is a big, big piece to what LSU wants to do in this game. We'll hear more sound from Brian Kelly as the week goes on. He met with the media on Monday, met with the LCC teleconference today. Tomorrow he'll have his normal press availability after practice, and then he'll have the Brian Kelly show tomorrow night from TJ Ribs over there on Acadian. If you want to get on by there for 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, Brian Kelly show. It'll be the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, along with Coach Kelly, taking some questions, and then Friday they'll head on off to Tuscaloosa. I'm excited to sit down with Mike Denbrock on Friday morning for my pregame show interview, kind of pick his brain. And one of the questions I might want to ask him is, how much fun are you having doing this? Because it looks like it's a lot of fun coaching this really fun offense, and they're going to have their work cut out for them coming up on Saturday night. Let's take this time out. When we come back, it is that time of the week for some SEC football power rankings.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Wish it was time for some Jersey Mike's, but I have to do 30 minutes of this show, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But Jersey Mike's is fantastic. Highway 30 in Gonzales, near the New Heritage Shopping Center. Check them out for their catering possibilities. If you're having some folks over to the house to watch some football on Saturday or Sunday, Jersey Mike's is great to order in bulk. They've got big boxes like the one they brought us a couple of weeks ago that had 12 individually wrapped sandwiches in them. They've also got individually boxed lunches. You want to feed a high school football team, or you want to feed your office for a lunch and learn or a conference, they can do that as well. And if you tell them you're a Hunt Palmer Show listener at the Highway 30 in Gonzales location, 20% off on your catering orders for Jersey Mike's. You can download the Jersey Mike's app and get reward points towards cheap free subs. You can also check them out on DoorDash, any of your general food delivery services. Jersey Mike's, happy to help you there. They've got awesome stuff on the cold side and the warm side, but especially that catering side as well. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Brian Kelly and Nick Saban update their team's preparations. Russ Mitchell previews the weekend ahead in the SEC. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's do some power rankings here on this Wednesday, as we do each and every Wednesday. Always y'all's favorite time of the week to jump on Twitter or on the Bayou Ford chat on YouTube and tell me how big of an idiot I am. However, I believe I've got this figured out. I think we're trending in the right direction. I think we've got this 14 for 14. Let's do it. We'll start at the top. I don't really have a whole lot to give you here other than it's Georgia. They are 8-0. They are 5-0 in league play. They have won 25 games in a row overall. They have won 24 straight SEC regular season games as well. It is the gold standard of the conference right now. Georgia is number 1. That puts Bama right behind them at number 2. Just kind of curious. Look, I said after the Ole Miss game that Alabama had the worst quarterback in the SEC. It's on tape. I'm not going to hide from it. I watched some of the early season action. I watched Texas. I watched against Ole Miss. I saw the red zone interception. I saw him score 24 points against a defense that I thought was mediocre. And I just said, this is the worst in the conference. I no longer believe that. Milroe has played better. He was great in College Station against a good defensive front and a bad secondary. And he's thrown for a lot of yards. He threw for some yards on Tennessee as well. So I don't necessarily feel the exact same way, but I still have my questions. We'll see if he can make me regret those words coming up on Saturday. But I've got Bama there at number 2. Ole Miss can make it to Atlanta. They can. But they've got to beat Texas A&M before they go to Athens. I said this with JD Picell in the first hour. If Ole Miss can win this game against A&M, they will go to Athens to play the biggest game in their school's program in 20 years. since Eli fell down. I think they're solid on offense. I think they're serviceable on defense. And we'll see if they can step up to the plate in Vaught-Hemingway, 11 o'clock kickoff, and get it done. I had them ahead of LSU. Obviously, they won the game head-to-head, but I just trust their defense more than I trust LSU's, and I think their offense is pretty good. So I'll take Ole Miss at 4. LSU I've got at Ole Miss at 3. Got LSU at 4. This is all the same as last week. That's your same top 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just think this is on the strength of the offense. We'll see. If LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and gets beat by 20 points, they're probably going to have to back up, especially if they give up 48 points. If LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and wins, they're likely going to move up maybe a couple of spots. So this feels like a volatile week for LSU because how much stock am I putting in a win at Missouri? A lot? A little? We'll see what Missouri does against Georgia. How much stock am I going to put into holding to Auburn to 18 points? A lot? A little? Maybe this should all boil back to the fact that you couldn't stop Ole Miss and you got blown out by Florida State. You get blown out by Alabama. I can't really trust you anymore. I think the only default would be if LSU goes to Tuscaloosa and loses a 34-31 game, they might kind of stay close to where they are. We'll see. I do have Mizzou at 5. They head to Athens this week. Tell me if you belong here. Do you belong in the upper echelon? We've seen over the last couple of years Kentucky try to punch up in weight class. Couldn't do it. Saw Tennessee try to punch up in weight class last year. Couldn't do it. Ole Miss always goes to Alabama and tries. They can't do it. Is Missouri ready to try to take a swing at the king, which is Georgia? Right now at 7-1, 3-1 in league play. I've got them at 5, but we'll see if they can stick there. Tennessee is in the 6th slot. They are 7th in the nation in rushing offense. 14th in the country, so top 15 in tackles for loss. They're pretty good at the point of attack. Still not great on the back end. And do you trust Joe Milton? We'll see. But I got Tennessee at 6. Got A&M at 7. Nothing has changed from last week, 1 through 7. A&M is 5-3 overall, 3-2 in league play. One of the statistics I did not know about A&M when I was digging through this at this point, and this is a bit of a referendum on Jimbo and Bobby Petrino, dead last in the SEC in red zone touchdown percentage. Dead last. No one converts red zone opportunities into touchdowns fewer times than Texas A&M. Feels like coaching. Feels like it. You've got enough guys to go down there and score some points when you get in the red zone. They just haven't done it. But I do have A&M at number 7. So that's your same 1 through 7. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, and A&M. In my 8th spot, I have a team that actually is moving up in the ranks after losing. That's Kentucky. They've lost 3 straight. They look pretty pedestrian after a really, really easy start to the season. They start getting to play teams that can function. They don't win ever. But they were competitive with Tennessee at home. And they did crush Florida head-to-head. And Florida, who had fattened up on South Carolina and Vanderbilt, who stink on ice for 2 weeks, then went and got blasted by Georgia. Florida against Utah, Kentucky, and Georgia has been outscored 100-45. I had to back them up. And the only team I had to elevate above them was Kentucky because Kentucky beat them. Even though Kentucky lost, I've got Kentucky at 8 and Florida at 9. That leaves Auburn at 10. They're 4-4, 1-4. I would just suggest Auburn right now is the best of the bad. They're the best of the bad. Everybody from Auburn down is bad. And Auburn's the best of that group. That's the best I can do for you. Mississippi State, they're bad. But I've got them at 11. They're 4-4, 1-4. Mississippi State is averaging 16.2 points per game against SEC opponents. So sad for Will Rogers, who right now Mike Rice playing more than Will Rogers is. He was a shoo-in to break Aaron Murray's record. Now he's 1,202 yards behind it, and we've gotten to November. I don't think he's getting there. He's been injured. Mike Wright's playing. They may be going. He's not going to get 1,200 yards the rest of the season, and so that's a bummer for him. South Carolina, they're plenty bad. 2-6 overall, 1-5 in SEC play. Guess who they play this week? Step out of conference for Rich Rod and Jacksonville State. which I think is Battle of Gamecocks. Is Jacksonville State the Gamecocks? I think they are. Check that, Beck. That just dawned on me. Maybe they're not, and I could be dead wrong, but I think they might be the Gamecocks. Either way, South Carolina finishes with 4 consecutive home games. They've been on the road a ton. Got the thumbs up there. Jacksonville State is the Gamecocks. Battle of the Gamecocks. That's fairly rare. Both teams, not good. Next, Arkansas. They're bad. 2-6, 0-5 in SEC play. They have lost 6 in a row. How about this stat if I'd have told you this at SEC football media days in July? And I realize there's injuries involved. But Rocket Sanders has 91 rushing yards on the season, and it is November. 91 yards on the season, and it's November. He's been hurt. I know that happens. But it's just nothing has gone the way that Arkansas wanted it to go on offense this year. The defense has been okay. Offense has been awful outside of one half down the street in Baton Rouge. And then last is Vanderbilt, whose final home game is this week. So all 1,100 in attendance will probably be full throat for senior day for Vanderbilt. They will finish up with Auburn. That's the home game this week. Then they're at South Carolina. They've got their second bye of the year because of week 0. Then they're at Tennessee to finish off their 2-10, 0-8 season in Nashville. So only one move, basically, the entire week in SEC football power rankings. That was the move between Florida and Kentucky. I just had to knock Florida because when they've played real football teams this year outside of Tennessee, for whatever happened for those 4 quarters, they've been absolutely blasted. But Georgia, Bama, and Ole Miss make the top 3. Then you got LSU and Missouri right there. Tennessee at 6, A&M at 7. That top 7 is exactly the same. Then you had the flip-flop, Kentucky at 8, Florida at 9. And then your 10 through 14, exactly the same. Got Auburn, got Mississippi State, got South Carolina, got Arkansas, and then you got number 14, Vanderbilt. I think I've got it figured out. Though, Ole Miss A&M has got a chance to be a little volatile. LSU or Alabama definitely could be a little volatile. And then maybe Missouri wants to see what they can do against Georgia. That could move the needle one way or another. So could be some games this week that kind of swing the pendulum. Not much doing last week when you've got some favorites doing some heavy lifting in the Southeastern Conference. So that is our look around the SEC at our power rankings. Let's take one more timeout, come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and that'll be it for us on a Wednesday edition.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. Of course, Kurt Ainsworth, former Tiger, heavily involved over there at Marucci. It started in the back of a shed. Like, hey, we'll carve some bats. They're now outfitting players in the World Series tonight. But it's not just that. It's the fact that they help us in our state so many ways. They drive tourism to our state with the Marucci World Series. They drive talent to our state with their baseball performance lab. They keep talent in our state by creating jobs and doing innovative things in the baseball world. Marucci, certainly a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Marucci Sports, could be a nonprofit, could be a person, could be a business, tell us about it. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a new champion of Louisiana. We'll tell their story courtesy of LWCC.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Voisin, inviting you to join me and the coaches Todd Black and Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Our special guest, McKinley head football coach Ron Allen. It's Louisiana Prep Weekly, tonight at 6, live from Walk-Ons in Town Center on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Little NFC South news to break here to you. The Atlanta Falcons have made a quarterback change. Desmond Ridder is going to grab some bench this weekend, and Taylor Heineke will be the starting quarterback for Atlanta. That announcement made earlier today. So the Saints play the Falcons for the first time on the 26th of this month. So that is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So we'll see what happens over the next 3 weeks before the Saints and Falcons play. But for this week, it'll be Taylor Heineke for the Dirty Birds. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It, Beck.
All right, first one here. We've got Myers Man's Halloween performance. Take it or leave it.
We're going to take it. I won't say it was without obstacle.
How long did the
hat stayed on for most of the time?
Wow.
He just got used to it and loved it. That was great. He doesn't really care about candy. He can't really eat like Skittles and suckers and all that kind of stuff. He does like to put the candy back in thing as opposed to get it out. More of his speed to like put things back in. But he did get some bites of Reese's, and once that happened, we couldn't get him to walk because he would just stand there and do the more symbol. More. He wanted 100 Reese's. So he was slow. He only fell a couple of times. He cried a good bit, but the costume was good. The kids loved his costume. Like all the 5 to 7-year-olds loved his costume because he's bluey. But there were some issues, but we got through it. Quick trick-or-treating session.
Just working the kinks out, you know?
Look, we'll prepare. We'll watch the film, and we'll get ready for next year.
You got to get better. That's all there is to it. All right, moving on here. Golfer Colin Morikawa got a call to join the Los Angeles Golf Club in Tiger Woods' TGL League. He said upon receiving the call that, I got my Ryder Cup call this year, and this might be better. Take it or leave it.
I'm so confused by this video of him. Like, clearly he doesn't believe that playing in a simulator golf league is better than getting the call to go play in the Ryder Cup. So, like, and clearly no one's going to believe that. So the thing that is attractive about this TGL thing is that it's a hit and giggle. Like, it's not to be taken seriously. It's to be fun and televised and do something that's not the stuffy, world of elite PGA Tour level golf. It seems like a ruse. Like the live guys have to like live it up and do all this stupid stuff with that garbage league. And like, this is supposed to be fun. And then Morikawa says it's more important than the rider. It was a very perplexing response. I realized it was probably to get clicks, or I don't know, but it was puzzling. Maybe that's it. It just worked in my brain. Maybe it was supposed to be so absurd that it would make the rounds like this show and get a bunch of clicks, and then people would hear about the TGL. Even though Morikawa knows that, it was just a media machine. All right, I'm trying to...
I think you're onto it.
I'm onto it there. We know it looks stupid, but all we care about is that more people see the letters TGL and go, what's that? And try to tune into it. Okay, I figured it out. That doesn't sound as bad as me.
All right, moving on. Reese Davis and Pat McAfee are going to host what amounts to a college football red zone show Saturday night. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's a good idea.
I'll take it.
It's not for me because I don't want to be watching. I mean, obviously this is LSU Bama, so it doesn't even apply to me or us that are listening. But just give it like LSU's bye week. I don't want to be watching Ole Miss A&M or Georgia, Florida, or whatever, and then you take me to Arizona State, Washington. I don't want to see that. Like I don't want any part of that. So if you had an SEC red zone that was just giving me pertinent updates on the SEC, I'd be in. Do not take me to Boston College and Syracuse. Like I don't care that they're in the red zone. I don't care that somebody just had a pick six. I don't care that the coach just broke his headset in half. Like, don't take me to that game. So I think there's a market for it. People obviously love the red zone. There's a fantasy component to that, which lends itself to more of it. But I think trying to use McAfee in some non-traditional roles is a good idea to me. I know there's a huge faction of people that do not like him at all. I do. I think that he is what he is. I'm not looking for him to be Kirk Herbstreit. I'm not looking for him to be Chris Fowler. I'm looking for him. He does his research. That's undeniable. He gives you statistics with every game he breaks down. He just does it with some personality, and you don't like when he rips his shirt off on game day, that's fine. I don't really care if he rips his shirt off on game day. But I think he's great when they do the field goal kickoffs and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's something to this because Reese Davis is a pro's pro and he's awesome, and McAfee can add some color to the whole thing. But it's just not for me on the college level because there's always a game I want to be looking at.
All right, moving on here. The Michigan Connor Stallions saga continues with new speculation that Stallions wore Central Michigan garb and stood on their sidelines at a game against Michigan State.
Yeah.
There are photos circulating of this. Apparently, the credential that was the suspected person was wearing said VB, which is visitor's bench. So that would make sense as to why he would be not with Central Michigan, but wearing some clothes that they had. But anyway, this can't get any crazier. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. It can probably get crazier, but it is it's a wild story. I mean, there's a lot of people writing stories now. They're getting kind of anonymously sourced information on just how big a deal this is from people that are in the industry. And a bunch of people are just saying, hey, this is not that big a deal, but Michigan's so bad at getting this done, and they've been so obvious, been so messy that they're probably going to get in trouble for this. It's a funny story to me because it doesn't affect me at all. If I thought LSU was being compromised in any way, I'd probably feel differently about it, but I've been very transparent about that for my entire career here. So look, I think it's nuts. I think it's kind of humorous, and I'm just still kind of thinking that the end of this, whenever it happens, is going to be Jim Harbaugh leaving to go to the NFL. That's where it feels like this is moving.
I mean, a guy wearing a picture, it's just so funny, like a zoomed in picture of this guy wearing sunglasses and a Central Michigan hat. I mean,
Chippewas, baby.
It's kind of unbelievable, but all right, we'll move on to the last one here. The Rangers will close it out tonight and win their first World Series. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I think the Diamondbacks have some fight to them. I think Gallen is good. This is sadly the game. These are the starters that I bet the money line on Friday at the Beau Rivage on. Had the lead in the ninth inning, and Seager ripped my ticket in half. So that's sad. But I'll take Zach Gallen tonight. Evaldi's very good as well, 4-0 in this postseason. But I think in Phoenix, with Gallen on the mound, with their season on the line, this Diamondbacks team has fought all year. Plus, with Rangers having an injury there to probably what's been their best player for a month, I think that there are enough reasons that Arizona will win. They are a minus 110 favorite tonight. I think they will force a Game 6, which will take it back to Texas. Look, I'm the fan of a team that faced a 3-1 deficit and found a way to get one at home and go on the road and win two and win the World Series back in 2016. So it can be done. The Diamondbacks just have their backs up against the wall here. I'll take the D-backs tonight. That'll do it for our show here on this Wednesday. Tomorrow, Excited for the show. Got Luke Johnson talking Saints. Got Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, talking LSU. Going to have Tony Tsoukalas from Alabama talking about the Crimson Tide. We'll do best win, worst loss, and really dive deeper into LSU and Alabama as well as Saints and the Bears. So looking forward to our show tomorrow. If you missed any of today's show, you know what you can do. Catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your podcasts, you can find our show, Hunt Palmer Show. We'd appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, rate, and review. Open the show talking about this Alabama offensive line. They have struggled statistically. I went through the personnel, what has happened for Alabama over the last 2 months offensively, and what LSU may be able to do defensively. If you want to see that broken down, you can do what I just told you and catch it all on demand, or you can go to YouTube, Hunt on LSU. We'll have that segment archived where you can get all your LSU football talk. It's Hunt on LSU on YouTube. JD Picell was great, as always. He's the host of the Hard Count on 3. He was with us at 1:15. It was a What If Wednesday. Talked food and beverage, talked Dream Team, talked all kinds of stuff. My career, if you want to catch that, you certainly can. And gave my thoughts on the college football playoff. Saints and Bears coming up on Sunday. I talked about Montez Sweat's addition to the Monsters of the Midway at 2 o'clock. Brian Kelly Sound at 2:15. And as always, our SEC Power Rankings at 2:30. That's all for us on this Wednesday. Matt Moscone is about to drive you home on After Further Review. We will see you tomorrow, same time and the same place. It is the Hunt Palmer Show.